This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
Welcome back. Invasive non-native plants consume wildlife habitat and compete with crops. So to learn more about them and how to control them, we have John Murphy from the Missouri Department of Conservation here this morning. So my first question is, what is the difference between invasive and exotic?
So there can be plants that can be invasive. Invasive is when a plant wants to take over things.
Okay.
There can be native plants that are invasive. An example of that is eastern red cedar and honey locust. They're native to Missouri. However, they can be aggressive and they can be invasive. But what we're going to discuss this morning are plants that are exotic, meaning they are not native to North America, not native to Missouri, that are also, if not more so, invasive, meaning they're very aggressive, they do very well, they don't have natural controls in place here in Missouri, and so they do very well, and they tend to dominate a stand of herbaceous plants.
Okay, so what are the common ways for these species to spread?
Well, there are a lot of, and we're going to be talking about herbaceous species today, meaning they're not woody plants.
Okay.
They can kind of turn woody, but they're not trees, they're not shrubs. So a lot of these herbaceous species are spread, they're very prolific, and we'll talk about that. They make a lot of seeds, okay? One of the big ways they are spread is by mowing. So when they go to seed and they are, you use a rotary mower or bush hog or something of that nature, in essence, that broadcasts the seed. And when you broadcast the seed, when you shatter those seed heads, basically you're making them even that much more efficient. A lot of times the seeds get caught on that equipment. They get caught on the bush hog. They get caught in the radiator. And if I mow one pasture here and then I move over to another place, basically I'm broadcasting their seed out there. Another example, so any kind of equipment like that, four-wheelers, ATVs, that type of thing, they get caught, the seeds get caught in the radiator, one place, drop out in another. Another example is, and some examples are, they have seeds that affix to our clothing or they affix to hair on animals.
Interesting.
So, as one animal passes through one place that's infested with some of these species, then those seeds pop off somewhere else. A lot of times, too, some of these are developed with means to be transported on air or water. So there's a variety of ways that they're successful based on cranking out a whole bunch of seed.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we do ourselves more harm than good, thinking we're going to go in there and mow, and we're mowing down these plants. It makes them shorter, doesn't get rid of them, but we're putting a bunch of seed on the ground with our equipment.
Right. Okay, so you brought in 3 of these plant species. So kind of go down the line, what they are and what they do, and how to possibly control them.
Sure. So one thing I want to emphasize too is, there's, identification is important on these plants before you try to undertake any kind of control program. And so there's a lot of good sites, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but there's a lot of good information out there to identify them. So I picked 3 species that we see a lot of in North Missouri right now. The first one is, this is cutleaf teasel. Okay, so cutleaf teasel, there's another type of teasel called common teasel. Really, it doesn't matter if you have cutleaf or common because they're both bad news.
Okay.
And so this is a short-lived perennial or a biennial, meaning it'll form a rosette 1 year, and then the next year it'll send up a stalk, then die.
Interesting.
Some of the best methods out there really are with herbicide. You can suppress it with grazing, but you're really not getting rid of it. Each one of these stalks produces about 2,000 seeds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's very prolific. You'll see it a lot of times. So mowing is not a very good viable option. Burning can kind of set back the rosettes, but a lot of times that is in preparation to use some herbicide on it as well.
Okay.
Bad problem in pastures, right-of-ways, and some crop situations. That's cutleaf teasel. Right. The next one we have is Sericea lespedeza. This is a it's a perennial legume, which makes it can grow on concrete. I mean, Sericea lespedeza does very good in poor soils. It's a big nuisance in pasture crops. and is a problem in forage. A lot of times, late season burning or a combination of late season burning with herbicide, and there are different types of herbicide that work on it, but it's a really aggressive one throughout the state of Missouri. But it is one that if you find this, now this one looks like some natives that we have. We have some really good native Lespedezas, so identification is important on all these plants. You're not going to see anything in North Missouri that looks anything like teasel, so that's going to be very easy.
And you said you were going to handle this one, so I'm going to step away.
This one is spotted knapweed, and spotted knapweed actually has a little bit of a toxin that can cause some irritant to some folks. Spotted knapweed is a short-growing rhizomatous plant, and one thing that we see here is that it's done flowering now. Okay, so when it flowers, it's got quite a pretty pink flower to it, and you see it a lot of time on roadsides. This is probably the most insidious of the three because these two I can actually control better with some herbicide and some treatment. This one here is very hard to control because if you leave any growing parts on it at all, it will just bloom and take off again. So this is a very, very hard one to control. We're seeing a lot of that. More common in South Missouri, but it's working its way up north.
Okay.
Very aggressive in old fields, right-of-ways, as well as pasture situations.
All right, and really quickly, these handouts that you have, where can people get these?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So there's a couple different places. Real quick, the Missouri Department of Conservation has handouts on a variety of the different invasive species that we have here. There's a really good website called invasive.org, O-R-G. It's a nationwide website. You can look up invasive species. As well as MU, the University of Missouri, has a really good weed identification website. I'd encourage anybody. And of course, if you think you have a problem with a certain type of weed, feel free to contact the local Missouri Department of Conservation, and we'll see what we can do to steer you the right way.
And what we'll do is we will link all of those websites as well as Missouri Department of Conservation's contact information for all our viewers so they can click on that, get the information, and of course the right people they need to talk to if they have any questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.